Hey guys, welcome back to Dose of Joy. This is part 2 of my productivity series. So if you haven't watched part 1, I'd highly recommend you do that before you watch this one because we talk about having a realistic relationship with productivity and being able to define it in our own terms. So now I'm discussing tips and tricks that have helped me to become more productive with my time and my studies, and they're all very practical, so after watching this video, you can straight away just apply what you've learned from this video to your life. And just a side note, in this video, the advice that I provide have personally worked for me, but because we're all different, it might not be as effective for you, but definitely the underlying theories and concepts that I discuss can be applied to everyone. It's just that you have to adapt it to your own life and your own situation. If you have your own productivity strategies that I don't discuss in this video, please comment them so we can all learn from it. And also comment below if there are any other video topics or ideas that you want me to discuss in the future. Okay, let's begin. So on to the first productivity tip. Know your why. What I mean is that there is absolutely no use in trying to be productive when you don't even know why you're doing something or what you're trying to achieve. To me, this is an absolute non-negotiable in becoming productive. Because if you don't even know why you're studying for this exam or why you're completing work for your job, what makes you think you're going to be motivated to be productive? I learned about the concept of finding your why through Simon Sinek's TED Talk. Would highly recommend. In uni, I consider myself pretty productive. I did a lot of study. I was able to balance my life okay-ish, not really. I studied quite hard, I went over the lectures and everything because my why was that I wanted to achieve grades high enough to be considered into postgrad med. That definitely became toxic though. I explained it in my mental health journey. Went downhill. So if you want to see how I suffered, click somewhere here. But because I knew my why, it really motivated me to keep studying even if I didn't feel like it that day. So once you found your why, I'd recommend keep checking it maybe every couple of months just to see if it's the same. Our priority is always changing, so say you're in a full-time job and you need to complete this work, your why might have changed from making money to getting that promotion. Use it as a motivational tool or something to keep you going. Number 2, know what environment you work best in. When I say environment, I don't just mean where you are, but also who you're surrounded by or what you're surrounded by, as well as what time of the day you're most productive. I personally know I work best in the morning, so if I'm forced to write an essay at night, I can do it, but it's less likely that I'm going to achieve the same result as I would in the morning. And also, I completely know that I can't study when I'm surrounded by my friends. I know myself and my personality is that as soon as I see someone, I'm going to start talking to them and forget about my studies completely. But on the other hand, some people are super productive when their friends are there because they might use their friends for accountability and be motivated to work when they see their friends also studying. But if you find studying with your friends distracting but still want to study with people, then consider joining a study group. So if you're like me and you can't study with your friends around, I definitely suggest allocating time specifically for each thing. So studying and then seeing your friends. That way you can avoid doing both things unproductively. And it's also possible that you work very well in different environments. My friend on exchange was just like this. She could work anywhere, but she needed to keep moving from place to place so that she can continue to focus and not get bored. So it might be that you can work for 2 hours at a time. You just need that scenery change in the middle. So play around with these ideas and see what works best for you. Number 3, find how you work best. So now that you've found an environment that you're most productive in, it's time now to discuss practical strategies to work most effectively in these environments and also to limit distractions. Personally, I think one of the biggest distractions is technology. It's so easy to just whip out your phone and start scrolling or checking non-existent emails. And before you know it, you've spent half an hour just doing nothing that you intended to do. So my first strategy to focus is actually putting my phone away from me and further than arm's reach and putting it on silent mode. I can't actually express how useful silent mode has been. I forget my phone's even there, I don't anticipate my phone buzzing, I don't get distracted, and don't have to spend extra energy refocusing on my task. If you know that people are messaging you and you really want to reply straight away, First, know that these messages generally can wait. Unless if it's an emergency, obviously reply. But for those non-urgent messages, I actually now allocate a specific time to mass reply to my friends, instead of doing it once every, say, 4 minutes. So if you're like me and you don't trust yourself around your phone, I'd suggest trying out these methods and just not touching your phone when you're supposed to be productive. And if your distraction's a laptop, I haven't actually used this method before, but there are things that you can do online to block certain websites. So if your kryptonite is like scrolling through Reddit or something, you can block Reddit for the time you want to be productive and then unblock it when you're done with your task. And besides limiting distractions, we also have to know how we work best. What I mean is, are you someone who works very well doing 2 hours of work in a row, or are you someone who needs to do 30-minute chunks with a small break in between? A very, very popular method for maximizing productivity is the Pomodoro technique. So you basically set a timer for 25 minutes and study with absolutely no distractions during that time. So your phone's out of reach, your website blockers are installed, then you give yourself a 5-minute break between Pomodoros and then repeat that for as many cycles as you want. What's good about this technique is that you can adjust it any way you like. So if you know that you can study for more than 25 minutes, you can set that Pomodoro for 45 minutes, for example, and then take a 5 to 10 minute break. If you're someone who likes the 25 minutes but just needs a scenery change after each Pomodoro, that's also an option. And if you really, really want to maximize your productivity, then you can actually spend your breaks doing things that you intended to do anyway. For example, you can take out the trash, clean your room, or anything else you need to do eventually. The idea is that if you're going to do these tasks anyway, you might as well do them in your breaks. But actually, the most effective productivity strategy I've used so far is planning what I need to do that day in advance. I'll make another video about different ways to plan, but generally just making a list of the things you want to accomplish can ridiculously improve your productivity. You're not pressured to think of what to do in the moment, you have tangible things to complete which keeps you on track, plus you get that satisfying feeling of crossing things off and looking back at the day and seeing what you've finished. My top tip with planning though is to make each activity as specific as possible. So, rather than writing 2 hours of study, elaborate and say go through 2 lectures and complete 1 practice exam. Number 4, experiment and repeat. I've had to try a lot of different methods to find out how I work best. So after a lot of trial and error, I know now that I work best in the mornings, I generally can focus for around an hour and then need a break, etc. So experiment with the things that I've said in the previous steps. And once you've found what works best for you, repeat it. Because doing it just once, it won't become a habit, you'll forget it, and you'll just resort back to what you usually do. And number 5, self-care. And really all the steps that I've mentioned are completely useless or just not as effective as they could be if you're not practicing self-care. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you exercising or eating enough good food? Setting intentional time to message friends, watch Netflix, or whatever you find relaxing. All of these self-care activities are so important to prevent burnout, to actually focus on what we're doing, and to achieve the results that we want without all these obstacles in the way. And going back to my uni days, I was hardcore studying, especially during that exam period. But even though I was technically productive and I was getting a lot of study done, I was not looking after my mental or physical health. I actually didn't mention this in my mental health journey video, but I was so sleep deprived that I couldn't even focus on my test. It was harder to read the questions and understand what they meant. And also I couldn't even see the time on the computer screen or the screen at the front. So by trying to be productive without practicing self-care, I literally just shot myself in the foot. Because I studied so hard for this exam, but then on the exam day I couldn't perform the way I wanted to. So if I had spent less time at my desk and more time exercising or seeing my friends, it would have reduced all of these obstacles and possibly even improved my exam grade. So that's the end of this video. Thanks for sticking by till the end. Just remember that there's no right or wrong way to being productive. You just have to adapt it to your situation. I hope that you can apply these tips and tricks into your own life and hopefully become more productive. Let me know if this has helped, and I'll see you in the next video.